Kaido and Big Mom, after being defeated in Wano, are coming back. But even more terrifying than that is the fact that both will return alongside Blackbeard as the newest members of his crew. So if you want to know all about this and much more, stick with me because that's what I'm going to show you now. Despite Kaido and Big Mom being defeated in Wano, and we don't know what happened to them or even if they're still alive, the truth is that, most likely, neither of them is dead, and we've already had several hints that they'll return to the story through Blackbeard as new members of his crew. But of course, let's build this line of thought because we have plenty of evidence and details that simply went unnoticed. First, we need to understand Big Mom's importance with Elbaf, since she grew up on the Island of Giants, and her entire backstory as we know it took place there. In fact, she's a sworn enemy of the Giants of Elbaf for killing Jorul, one of the Elder Giants, who was greatly respected by all. This also led to a long and troubled history with the Giants, where Big Mom plotted to make them part of her army through the marriage of her daughter Lola to Loki. But when Lola refused to marry, Big Mom sent her twin sister Chiffon, thinking she could deceive the Giants, but this only made them hate her even more. So for a long time it seemed that Big Mom's story with the Giants needed a resolution, and everyone believed this would happen in the Elbaf arc. No one imagined she'd be defeated before that, but this doesn't mean her story is over, it only reinforces that she will return. After all, we still haven't seen the end of her relationship with the Giants. In fact, we even see a dream monster created by Kirin attacking Giants that looks identical to Big Mom, which is a major foreshadowing. Moreover, her defeat in Wano wasn't entirely finalized. As Big Mom was falling after the combined attack from Law and Kid, she said these words, "Don't assume this will be enough to kill me." And that's strange in One Piece, since usually when a major villain is defeated, we get a sense of finality with them unconscious and truly defeated. But with Big Mom, she's fully conscious throughout the fall and even swears revenge. That doesn't feel like a conclusion to me. Additionally, even though Big Mom fell into magma, she doesn't seem to have died, since the homies created by her fruit are still alive, as we see with Zeus still being with Nami. Generally, the abilities of Devil Fruit users tend to stop after they're defeated, especially those carrying a piece of Big Mom's own soul, as we saw with the toys transformed by Sugar or the zombies of Gecko Moria, which deactivated after they became unconscious. So unless it's an effect of her own fruit that continues after her death, the chances are that Big Mom is still alive. So there's still a long story to be uncovered between Big Mom and the Giants of Elbaf. And this is a clue telling us that Big Mom might indeed return. Something that has become very common in One Piece is Oda bringing back defeated villains from the past into the story, like Crocodile, who was important in Marineford and is now also significant in the Cross Guild. Buggy himself, since he appeared, has returned multiple times. And we also have Rob Lucci more recently, who returned in Egghead. So with Big Mom's final words promising her return, with so many references to Big Mom in recent arcs, and with the fact that her story always seemed to have connections to Elbaf that never became truly relevant, and the fact that Oda doesn't seem to have killed her, plus the fact that he loves bringing past villains back into the plot. With this, the chances of Big Mom returning are indeed very high. But what about Kaido? Well, Kaido and Big Mom have always been presented as a duo. One was always talking to the other. Kaido owes a debt to Big Mom, and the two even decided to join forces in Wano to dominate the world together. So if Big Mom is returning, Kaido, who was defeated alongside her, will too. Moreover, although Kaido was defeated much more definitively than Big Mom and took far more damage throughout the battle in Onigashima, in the end, Kaido is a Zoan user, which means he also has much greater recovery and absurd resilience. Additionally, another fact that Kaido didn't die is that Oda has made it clear that Luffy never kills villains. He said that leaving a villain alive with their plans ruined is much worse than death. And since it was Luffy who delivered the final blow with that massive punch, if Kaido were dead, it would technically mean Luffy killed him. Kaido also always wanted to die in a great battle. That was his goal. It even became a hobby of his. He wanted to die at the hands, apparently, of Joy Boy, which is another reason he's not dead. According to Oda, Luffy only frustrates the plans of villains. So, leaving Kaido alive with his defeat would be the worst fate for him. So to sum up, it's unlikely that Big Mom is dead because of her final words, and it's unlikely that Kaido lost his life either due to his resilience and the fact that Luffy doesn't kill villains. Thus, it seems that Oda may have simply created this magma prison as a way to remove Kaido and Big Mom from the story without actually killing them. This leaves us with the question, how will they return to the story? And we already have the perfect major event for this. It's the destruction of Wano's borders. This is an event that seems guaranteed to happen very soon. As it was explained to us, Wano holds a great secret. Before, during the Void Century, the country was at sea level. However, when they built their borders with the massive wall around the country, they didn't create a way for the water to escape. So over time, rainwater completely flooded the place, forcing the residents to abandon their old country and build another at the height of the walls. Thus, the the entire Wano from the Void Century is actually submerged beneath the Wano we know today, including the ancient weapon Pluton. And the only way to access this weapon is by breaking the country's walls and opening its borders, which means this will happen very soon. In fact, Odin himself had this goal. He returned to Wano with this mission, to open the borders. We always knew the borders would be destroyed, and we knew that Pluton had to be freed. But by opening the borders, Pluton won't be the only thing discovered, but also two Yonko, who are buried in the depths of the country and are likely still alive, just waiting to be freed back into the world. And of course, the one who will open the borders by destroying the massive walls will be none other than Blackbeard, and he will take Pluton for himself, one of the most powerful weapons in the world. The fact is that Oda wrote an extremely extensive storyline for Caribou, with him following the Straw Hats from way back, spanning 500 chapters, just so he could have information about the ancient weapons Poseidon and Pluton. And then he takes this information specifically to Blackbeard. Everything Caribou saw and experienced led him directly to his encounter with Blackbeard's pirates in Egghead, to then finally be taken to Blackbeard and give him the information about the ancient weapons. Oda also made it very clear that Blackbeard was interested in this information and set up Pluton's location, so that literally Blackbeard, and only he, could retrieve it from the depths of Wano. After all, Pluton is buried at the bottom of the sea, surrounded by gigantic earthen walls, and one of the only, if not the only one, capable of breaking such massive walls is Blackbeard himself. Oda literally gave Blackbeard the fruit created to destroy large expanses of land. He has the earthquake fruit, the only fruit that makes him, and only him, capable of going to Wano and breaking the barriers that were created. Just look at the destruction Whitebeard caused with this fruit in Marineford. He completely destroyed the island, which even forced the Marines to relocate their base. After all, it had been entirely destroyed by Whitebeard. And keep in mind that there is literally no reason for Blackbeard not to do this. The moment he learns of Pluton's location, he will definitely go after it. He attacked Big Mom's territory to steal her poneglyph and also kidnapped Pudding, who can read poneglyphs when her third eye awakens. He even went to Amazon Lily to steal Boa Hancock's fruit and attacked Baltigo, the territory of the revolutionaries. So with Pluton, which is far more significant a legendary weapon, he has no reason to hold back. Therefore, we already have a series of events that will happen. Blackbeard will learn about Pluton's whereabouts through Caribou. He will go to Wano to retrieve the ancient weapon. He will use his earthquake-causing ability to destroy Wano's borders. And in the process of Blackbeard shaking Wano with a series of earthquakes, this could easily set the stage for the release of Kaido and Big Mom. At this moment, both are buried underground. Earthquakes would be the perfect mechanism to unearth them. As Blackbeard ravages Wano with earthquakes, the ground beneath Wano could easily crack and split open, while the two Yonko, now somewhat recovered a few weeks after their defeat, emerge back to the surface, or the earthquakes could trigger a new volcanic eruption, which could blast the two Yonko out. However, with the return of Kaido and Big Mom, they definitely won't return to their crews. After all, we see in Yamato's cover story that she is forming a new group and recruiting members of the Beast's pirates, like Ulti. And Big Mom's pirates likely have a new leader, probably Katakuri, and all of Big Mom's children were always afraid of disappointing her and suffering the consequences. So despite being her own children, they fear her and don't like having her as a leader. Moreover, Kaido and Big Mom were defeated and thrown into magma. So if they return, it's obvious they won't be at their full strength. With this, without a crew to return to, since Kaido can't go back to Wano and Big Mom can't return to Whole Cake, and also being weaker and with permanent injuries from the fight and being blasted in the magma, their only option would be to join Blackbeard, with the three forming an alliance to obtain the One Piece treasure. We already know that Blackbeard is comfortable recruiting characters who are his opponents, as we saw with Aokiji. And if we look at the one Blackbeard draws inspiration from, Rox D. Jebek, he assembled a crew composed of extremely powerful individual pirates. And Kaido and Big Mom were two of the most notable names in the original Rock's crew. Considering that Blackbeard is following in Rock's footsteps, having Kaido and Big Mom in his crew would make him recreate the crew that the Rock's pirates once were, a crew with the greatest monsters in the world. Thus, Blackbeard would create the strongest crew of the current era, making history repeat itself and causing a new incident as massive as God Valley to happen again. Kaido and Big Mom are coming back, and now, as Blackbeard's allies. And well folks, Kaido and Big Mom are probably not dead, and with Blackbeard going to Wano to break the country's borders to retrieve Pluton, it's very likely that this will free the two Yonko. And then, with nowhere to go, the most logical thing would be for Blackbeard to recruit them into his crew, making Blackbeard's pirates one of the most insane crews in history. So I really thank you for sticking around until here. Well, the video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because even the Pirate King needs a crew. We'll meet again with another amazing video. Until then, stay awesome, and don't get lost like Zoro.